Hello there, you beautiful soul, and welcome back to another Cultured Talk with your host, Rebecca Munoz of Cultured Society. I am here with another special and beautiful guest that I have had the opportunity to live life with at some point in my life. And this special guest I actually met 3 years ago at a yoga studio that I was a part of in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I always say that we align with the individuals that are supposed to be a part of our life, whether it's in a specific phase or for the rest of our life. And I feel like at this stage of my life, I'm at a place where I know myself so well, and I have purged out a lot of unnecessary baggage in my life. And now the people that are coming into my space are people that are in alignment with themselves, that are serving a very divine purpose, that are making waves on this planet, and that are creating space for others to do the same. And I'm so grateful for this individual that I have in front of me right now, because this woman is a force to be reckoned with. And I'm so honored. I'm so honored to introduce you to this woman that I know is going to be a part of my life for a very long time. So, to introduce you to Sarrah Davis, Sarrah is the creator of Inspirit Inc., a holistic family doula and lifestyle well-being organization providing primordial wellness services, tools, and guidance for individuals, families, and communities who are ready and committed to optimizing their health, life, and human potential. She serves as a lifespan doula, offering full circle doula support to prepare for birth, postpartum recovery, and death. She provides physical, emotional, educational, and conscious support during these transformational transitions. Birth and death are the two biggest taboos within our society, having been deemed invisible, shameful, and fearful. She was inspired to help others unlearn their preconceived notions about birth and death so that they may have a unique and empowering experience during these transitions. She works with the individual and their families to prepare for the occasion as well as during these sacred passages. She also teaches one-on-one private groups and community yoga classes with the ability to teach various styles of yoga, asana practices, pranayama, breath work, meditation, and yogic philosophy. She is an overall health and well-being coach, teaching you how to recognize and eliminate toxic thinking, habits, and products within your life to make room for self-made well-being.
Mhm.
This, I introduce the beautiful Sarrah Davis. Sarrah, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It's so cool to be here and very new to me to be in this kind of platform and putting myself out there and letting myself be seen. So thank you all for being here and receiving me in this space.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Sarrah. And as I mentioned in every single one of my segments, I have put together a series of questions that are the same across the board for every guest that comes on to this series. However, every conversation has been so unique and so divinely orchestrated because every single person is so uniquely designed and has a specific purpose in their own life. Yet, I believe that even though we are so uniquely designed, we are all made from one body. We come to be a reflection of each other and to bring our own personal life philosophies, belief systems, experiences. We can come together and have a conversation and be open and just be receptive to what other people have to bring to this world. So with this, I want to start off with my first question, Sarrah. What is your life's philosophy?
So my life's philosophy are words, beautiful wisdom spoken by the beautiful poet Rumi. And that is yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. And today I'm wise, so I am changing myself. And that goes into like us being our own revolution and freedom and liberation. And we find that through our own creativity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you are so right. I believe that, through our own personal evolution, we are inspired by the information that we are given through these experiences. And it's not about taking from other people, but really taking from these experiences and making it our own so that we can become better every single day. And we have the ability to recreate ourselves every single day. And it's such a beautiful thing. Now, how has this philosophy evolved over the years for you?
Yeah, how has that evolved for me? A lot of it is trusting my path. And those are some words I received from a yoga instructor back when I was living in Oceanside. And it was during a time when I responded to stress in a very impatient manner. So I was just very reactive to the discomfort that I felt in my body and allowed that to lash out at other people when, it didn't serve me or it didn't work for me. Um, Knowing well aware of that I had accountability still. So that was the first kind of little snippet of receiving that message was like, trust your path. You don't need to have the whole picture in your head or in your mind figured out. All you need is a lantern and taking one step at a time to see just one foot in front of the other. So yeah, just really slowing down has been a huge practice for me. So not taking on a ton, but also finding that alignment to where what I am doing is keeping me aligned with what I'm called towards. And that's a very challenging thing to find, I think, is finding your calling and finding your purpose and what you're meant to do here in this lifetime. So yeah, just trusting your path and trusting the things that spark your creativity and just running with it. And again, like not needing to have the whole thing figured out by tomorrow. It's just like, one thing at a time.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's one of the hardest things to do, especially as creatives and as women that have really activated both our feminine and masculine energy. We tend to want to take control of everything, right? But although we are creators and we are creating our experience, it's important for us to really embrace the moment and to understand that our life is unfolding second by second, minute by minute. And it's
Yeah.
not, we're not supposed to have everything figured out. And we don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow. So why do we have to worry about everything when all we have is this present moment?
Yes.
So, how would you say that your upbringing and circle of influence has really impacted the way that you think and live today? Because you mentioned just a little bit ago that you used to be very reactive. So, obviously, you've gone through a major evolution. So, how has your circle of influence impacted that?
So understanding that the contrast that we experience, things that kind of throw us off or shift us or kind of make us feel a certain way that is uncomfortable. It's knowing that those things are actually keeping us right on our path just as much as the things that do align. So in those circumstances, in those occasions or those experiences, one thing at a time, like taking a moment to not have to see the whole picture versus what's right in front of you. And that's the yin yang practice, right? Versus what I was saying before, not needing to have everything figured out, but just taking it one step, one moment at a time. But in those moments, you are so up close that you are missing a lot of the picture and a lot of the understanding and a lot of the participants, you know, if that is the situation. But taking a moment to step back a little bit and not respond, but observe. That's been a huge practice for me in 2020 was, you know what, I'm not going to be so opinionated or so outspoken just on my thoughts, because it's not for anyone but me, you know. So being really conscious of what you put out is the kind of energy you're going to attract right back in. So that's kind of that law of attraction kind of.
Yes, absolutely. And I know firsthand because I've had many conversations with you and I've had the opportunity to actually, sit in your space. As a matter of fact, we were just discussing how this day last year, I was transitioning out of Arizona and I had the opportunity to spend some time with you. So I know that the evolution of even your circle of influence has really changed. So like when you were younger, I'm sure you surrounded yourself with a lot of people that maybe weren't in this, or they were in the same headspace that you were in. And then as you evolved, that changed. So do you spend a lot of time with people in your intimate circle, or do you keep it pretty small?
So yeah, I would say definitely like a 50-50 introvert extrovert. Like I have no problem interacting and engaging and exchanging with people. However, because I'm so in tune and aware of myself, I'm very conscious of others. And so I have to be mindful of energy, and I can take that on very easily. And so I've come to a place where I'm really beginning to understand that and honor that, and knowing that those times where I do need to recluse or hermit, essentially as part of my human design, to where, you know, I need to replenish myself and really implement a lot of self-care, because I know when I am out in the world, I have some pretty intense energy to give, uh, but also very warm and mindful and kind, you know. But it is definitely an anomaly kind of energy, and I'm beginning to really embrace that. And so when I am able to be out in the world, like I am with people, but yes, like overall, I am just at home with my cats and my partner, and just trying to speak life into, you know, creating purpose, one that it keeps me aligned and in my joy, and always keeps me in my gratitude, right? Birth and death, like those are the two biggest things that put things into perspective on how we should be living consciously more for ourselves, because our natural state is health. That's what Sahara Rose says, is our natural state is actually health, and we are so sick in many different ways. And so my purpose or my calling has been to serve people and families in these huge transitions, so that all the stuff in between is put into perspective. Like, what are you doing? What are you putting out into the world? Are you mindful of that? Do you not care? You know, no matter what, it's okay wherever you are, and your level of awareness, because everyone has some sort of self-awareness.
Yes.
However, it's up to them to stay on that creative path, to continue to dig deeper into that, if that's what you're called to do. So holding space for that can be very intense.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yes. And it takes a lot of courage to do the type of work that you do. And I mean, you already talked about, the positivity and the intention behind your work, especially because of the history that you've had. And so how do you believe that your line of work infects? And I use that word because we are often infected with dis-ease and negativity in this world, and we can be infiltrated by that and choose to be a part of that and choose to focus on all the negativity that is surrounded, that we're surrounded by. But we also
Mhm.
can choose not to be, So how does your work affect our society with positivity?
So by relearning these processes, so re-understanding these passages, first of all, by knowing what you know. So whatever you've learned about birth, whatever you learn and understand about death, like what are the things that come up for you automatically? And a lot of times those aren't sacred thoughts. They're very fear-based. They're, kind of shameful based, where it's like, oh, we don't want to talk about that. That's a very gross or messy process, or I don't want to talk about that. It's just, it brings you down, or it's really sad to talk about, and both of those processes are very brave circumstances. Like it's so brave to birth a human being into the world, and it's so brave to leave this plane and make space for new people to bring in their creativity and their opportunity to make a difference in this world. Contrast is always going to be there, and these are the two biggest contrasts that you can have.
Yes.
You are born and then you die. And those are very hard things to look at. So that's why it's challenging. Like I want to challenge your perspective on these things, to be like, you know what, I'm going to shift these perspectives, because that's going to give me the opportunity to have a much more pleasant, aligned, empowered experience, to where you have those experiences truly in your hand. Because a lot of it is so outside of ourselves, and we give these things to other people, where it's like we're not focusing on those individual souls. It's not focused enough on them. It's just, it's what's focused is from the neck down. It's just focused on the body. We forget a lot about the actual living conscious soul in that. So there's a lot of positivity to birth, and there's a lot of positivity to death, and they can be very empowering for not just the person in transition, but for their circle of support.
Oh my
And
God.
there's not enough people within their family units doing the work to be able to hold that kind of space. Because yes, you can hire strangers to come and be the emotional support and to hold the hand, because they have this sense of contentment in that space. But truly, like that support team, their family, their friends, whoever it is that they want to be by their side during these transitions, is huge to begin to teach people and to re-understand that. And it can be in a very positive and impactful way for our own selves, and how we understand it, and how we prepare for that for our loved ones. It's not a lot of things people think about.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I'm so glad that you talk about contrast, because we live in a duality filled world. We live in darkness and light. And it really is about the higher perspective. And this is the main reason why we're having these conversations, because you can make light of every situation. And I know that you have experienced a lot of darkness in your life. And now you have such a deep understanding of what it feels like to feel pain, to feel loss, to feel, and to also shift your perspective into really seeing the positive outlook of that circumstance. That's so beautiful, Sarrah. How do you stay relevant, unique, and true to who you are as a person while doing your work and just as an individual as a whole?
Mm. Self-care. I think the practice of self-care is the biggest thing that I could do for myself, because we all have roles to play in society. We have our role at work, we have our role at home, we have our role in our friend units. We have all these different kind of personas that we put on in these different environments. And a lot of times when we do strip that off, it's not replenishing. It's very just sit in front of the TV and zombie out and not like do any self-work, because it is time and it's energy to put into yourself. So again, like a lot of the imbalance here, why can't we, is because we're going out and we're being all these different kinds of people and these different kinds of institutions, and then we're coming home and we're still not, we don't have the energy to put back into ourselves. So there needs to be a flip, and self-care needs to be at the forefront of just my life, like making sure every single day I do at least one self-care practice towards like, I'm even like, I'm away from my partner for a minute, I'm not on a screen, I am in silence essentially too, because a lot of times we want to hear a lot of things outside of our mind and our thoughts, because we can't shut off our brain. And if it is quiet, then we have to sit with all the things that are baggage, emotional baggage that we've carried over the years that we don't want to deal with. And so I just won't even make the time for that anymore. You know, I can just feel when it's like, okay, I need to peel away. I need to do that every single day. And it's a practice. It's not easy. But self-care is huge. Like physical self-care.
Oh, absolutely. And when did that shift for you? Because I know we live in a very superficial physical world, right? Where there's so much noise, and it's oftentimes really hard to even hear your own voice when you're in the world. So when did that shift for you, and how did it really start to change the way that you viewed and treated yourself?
2020. So, is when I really began to take it seriously. And it's like, man, the way that I'm living my life and just working on my 9 to 5 and trying to create a business where it's like, trust me with these processes and allowing to guide you and educate on them, is a lot, right? So I think that 2020, working in a medical office during a pandemic that tests and treats for it, and managing that on my own has wanting me to really put into, it's really propelled me into my calling. And there's just a way that I just won't allow myself to live anymore. It's like I could feel in me that it's like, you know what, you're done with this. Like, you've already done this throughout your bachelor's degree. And it's just like, it's not that you don't have it in you, but it's like you have another way of doing this in a way that is actually going to keep pushing you forward and stay aligned. So 2020 was hard because I didn't have a break from my office. I didn't have a vacation. Because, we're a small practice, and so I'm on my own. So it wasn't until December that I realized that I didn't take any time off for myself. I didn't take a day off, and the only time that I had off was when I had COVID over the summer, and it was for like a week and a half, and that felt like a vacation to me, which says a lot. Like, the only time I got to allow myself a break was when I got sick. And we can't push ourselves to that point. No. We can't push ourselves to that point, because then we want to change, and we want that change to be rash and immediate. And as we know, like, things progress. And if you allow it to, and as long as you're taking the little steps day by day and just doing the self-care, those things are going to show in the long run. That's a very difficult thing to be in that kind of pace, but it's true. And it's just, again, allowing yourself to enjoy the moments. And going into 2021, and like, self-care is the goal, like putting myself first, so that even when I have a family, I am still putting that into practice so that I can show up and be there 100%. So my cup is overflowing. Everyone's self-care is different. Getting into nature is one thing everybody should do. That is the biggest thing that can completely clear your aura, clear your energy, clear your mind, is to get out in nature and a beautiful place on Mother Earth and just breathe and play, get into that childlike essence. So yeah, like the pandemic and COVID was what really lit a fire under my butt. And I did that to myself. You know, it wasn't that my job didn't allow it. I just, that's my work ethic. I push and I keep going and I'm okay. And then, I get burnout. And that's my understanding of my cycles. It's like,
Yeah.
I push, and I burn out. And I need to recognize that a lot sooner.
Oh my goodness. I am so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that because, and we're going to talk about self-care practices because I think it's so important for us to really understand that, well, everybody's self-care practices are very different, but oftentimes in our society, self-care practices are still very superficial.
Yeah.
Before I ask you that question, do you believe that your work that you do every day is aligned with your calling and higher purpose? And what does that even mean to you?
100%. 100%. So even though I work at a 9 to 5 at my job, I work for naturopathic doctors, and they've been able to teach me preventative medicine. And they've really reflected the kind of practitioner I'm on the road to becoming. And so that's where my job aligns, right? So I've learned a lot just about overall health and how we can balance that with Western medicine, but also, again, what we can do for ourselves to where it's like, okay, I've done everything I can. I've changed my diet. I've incorporated more movement into my life. I've done more self-care, and your health is still needs assistance. You find that bridge and you find that balance. Birth work and death work, and just perinatal work, health, is very steeped in society and how we care for humans, like what kind of care is available for humans and why certain humans get certain care and certain humans don't, and really trying to make change in that. So my birth work is where my calling is to serve humanity, right? So it's like, I want everyone to have a better quality of life. Birth work and death work are where I'm called to actually serve others. So that's just like, it's not even for the money, it's truly like this needs a lot of care and a lot of unlearning. Like there's a lot of perceptions that need unlearning. And then finally, yoga. So I teach yoga, and I've worked at a yoga studio and yoga studios for the last 7 years. And just being around yoga, being able to practice, being able to teach, it's two very different highs when you're in those spaces. And all these things, so at my medical office, my service work as a doula and my yoga work, it's the energy of it all, right? It's the energy of it all that it's like, man, all of these keep me aligned with my work and deeper self-conscious and trying to elevate that consciousness. So that's how those all align for me.
So how did you get into this line of work? What was there a specific event that happened, or was there like a conglomerate of events that happened that really just put you in alignment with this type of work?
Yeah, so truly my own suffering, like embracing my own suffering and the things that I've been through and that have hurt me in my life, have presented me with two choices. It's either going to be a liberating choice that's going to be like, okay, these things are not going to define me. One, two, like they give me this kind of energy, and it's totally my choice as to what I make of that and what I put that in. Is it going to be in a more toxic, self-destructive behavior, or is it going to be more motivational, inspirational, like watch me shine kind of behavior? You know what I mean? And so truly like embracing my suffering and what I've been through, and truly thinking those experiences have brought me just deeper questions about myself, about the world, about you know, what I want to do and what I want to make of my life. And yeah, I love these pauses because it's just a moment to tune into what I'm feeling and whatever message is coming through, right? Um, yeah, it's trusting that has just been such divine alignment. And you know, where I'm at now, I see like little glimpses of those messages shining through. I mean, I can go back. It's like a domino effect. It's like, where do you even want me to start with that question? Because I mean, naturopathic medicine, and I had no idea I was going to work in a naturopathic medical office.
Yeah.
Having just moved from Oceanside, California, I was a nanny there for many years. And in the last part of that, I brought on another family to make some extra money. And her husband was going to school at Bastyr University, which is a naturopathic medical school in San Diego. And then I moved to Arizona a month later. I'm taking a yoga class and my friends are talking and they are like, you need to come practice at this yoga studio in this beautiful little town in Arizona. And they happen to be hiring. They happen to be unconventional. I mean, they were a yoga studio too. I had just gotten my teacher training. Like, I'm telling you, trust your path. You don't have to have the whole picture figured out, but whatever sparks inspiration for you, you know, like yoga, for example. When I started doing yoga, it just really helped me so much to deal with the stress and the dysfunction that I was trying to heal and manage in my life. And I ended up going for my teacher training, not because it's like, oh, I want to be a yoga teacher and make a career out of this. I was like, I need to be able to take this with me everywhere I go. And that might just be the Virgo in me that is like, who wants to go through every kind of degree and education and training that there is to be 100% well-rounded, like that's just me. But, like, again, that was what I was called, and it wasn't for anything else but me. And even for birth work, like that is preparing me for when that time comes for me, like I know exactly how I can maneuver myself and navigate through that kind of system to stay true to myself. In death care, like I'm not in that just to, I'm interested, yes, like I'm fascinated about death and about these processes, but when it comes down to caring for my family and, things happen all the time, you just never know. Like, I don't want that to be sprung on me last minute, having to learn about everything all at once while still managing and dealing with the emotional aspects of it all. It's too much.
Yes,
It's too much. And I know I'm not the only one.
absolutely.
I know I'm not the only one.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Sarrah, you have revealed so much truth, girl. You are wise beyond your years because I know that you're still, fairly young, and it's so beautiful to see the evolution just in the short amount of time that I've known you. But I also want to touch because this segment is called Culture Talks for a reason. And I think that we are very one-track mind as a society sometimes, especially because a majority of people in our society do not allow themselves to experience change. Although change is happening naturally every second of the day. But, for you to be able to transform, to evolve, to really evolve through these changes, you have to change. You
Yeah.
have to make consistent changes. How has
Mm.
your multicultural background influenced the way that you think? Because I want to say that you are one of a kind in your culture, right? Because you have a mixed culture within your bloodline.
Mm.
And I'm sure that even allows you to be very unique in the work that you do.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that influence that it's had on your life.
Yeah. So, I mean, brown people are so beautiful and underserved
Uh-huh.
in all shades, all shades of brown, all shades of melanin. And, that's it's brought a lot of curiosity in me. It's like, why have these people been so colonized and so controlled, like throughout our history? What is it about these people? And I am African American. I don't know my indigenous African roots. I would love to learn one day. But I am African American. I am Native American, and I am Mexican American. So my mom was born in Sinaloa, Mexico. My dad is African American, but in his bloodline, we have Native American, which I love being brown. Um, and I know that it's because, like, again, these are the underserved communities that need the most help, but have so much wisdom, and have the answers on how we can truly elevate our society, because we have all the resources, and just by shifting where those resources go, I think we can help a lot of human beings. And I think that quality of life it's the work. Like, that is the work everyone is trying to do, is improve everybody's quality of life, and equity and fairness, like, has a fair shot at that. So I didn't really grasp that until my degree, when I went to ASU for Women and Gender Studies. And, we look at a lot of the intersections of race, class, gender, sexuality, religion. We look at all various types of identities, and how your identity, however you identify yourself, impacts your experience in this world. And there's no doubt about it. So I think, being in my line of work, the mortality rate of pregnant women and pregnant babies is much higher than it should be, for being as powerful and rich of a country as we are, and as educated and free as we are. So yeah, like, my background, where I come from, like, tells me what populations I am meant to help uplift, and provide opportunities to, like, transcend the conditions that they are in. Because, again, like, yes, we can protest, we could do all the work, and we could send the message to government, but again, like, have you done everything you can in yourself to be like, okay, like, I've done the work, I need that help, I need that extra help, instead of just allowing yourself to be stuck and to be stagnant. And I'm fortunate to, I'm privileged, like, straight up, like, I have privilege as a brown woman. And I think everyone should have that opportunity to have privilege. I think it is everyone's birthright to have that,
Oh,
trying,
yeah.
trying to make opportunities, trying to educate people and embody, like, yes, like, you can come out of this. Like, my parents did just a little bit for me, and like, I'm gonna try to do it just a little bit more for my children, and to create generational wealth, but to also, like, teach, like, how to follow your path, your truth, to create your own wealth and abundance. That's not just materialistic. Wealth and abundance is a state of mind and a state of action. And it's like, are you starting with yourself first, or where are you putting the blame? Like, it always has to just start with you.
Oh my goodness. I am so many nuggets of wisdom in that statement that you just made. And you know what? It's so important for us to talk about this, because you, in your own personal bloodline, you have Native American, you have Black, and you have Mexican, some of the three cultures that are the most oppressed
Yeah.
in our society. And the thing is that we can choose to stay oppressed and to use our history as an excuse to not do anything, or we can use that as a way to liberate ourselves, because that is a personal choice. And I don't believe that oppression needs to be a part of our narrative today. We can choose to change our narrative any second of the day, and also to really break those generational curses that are bestowed upon us, because dis-ease and oppression is a generational curse that we can break. But it
Mhm.
takes work, and it takes decision, it takes action every single day to, and this is why again we're having these conversations, because circle of influence is really important. And how you decide to look at yourself every single day, and taking the experiences that you have not as an excuse to just throw your life away, but to use it as a tool, to
Yeah.
use it as an empowerment tool to change and to be different, and to empower people, others in our culture to do the same. So, what practices do you implement to stay grounded and divinely connected to self and your creator?
Yeah, so yoga, meditating, and breath work. And every day, every month, every year that I continue on this practice, I'm like, like this is medicine. This is my part of my go-to because, I'm not, I've never really practiced Western medicine. If I, when I look back on myself, it was always just like, I just knew there was this energetic underline to what was going on and what I was going through. Um, and so, yeah, it was always like, how do I need to change myself in order to improve this? And it was baby steps over the years. At first, it was the very first thing was cutting out meat.
Mm.
So I did that in 2010. And it wasn't that like, I was like, oh yeah, I want to change my diet and I'm going to cut out meat starting tomorrow. It wasn't even like that. I was at work and I was eating, like a bowl from Samurai Sam's, and it had like two different kinds of meat in it with the rice. And when I took a bite out of it, I did not like it at all. I didn't like the taste. I didn't like the texture. I was just completely disgusted by what I just ate. And it was so new to me. It was like, huh, I think I don't want to eat meat anymore. I don't think I like it. It was just a switch just happened. Um, and then after that, like I chopped off all my hair because I wanted to go back to my natural state. So I used to straighten my hair a lot and I've colored it. And when I would get wet and go back to my natural curls, like it wasn't curly. Like there were some spots that were straight, some spots that were curly. I had just things going on in my home that just I didn't feel good. I was always mentally ill, always depressed, always stressed, had anxiety, like just had such a toxic self-image, um, that I was like, I was looking for something to pull me out of it. And eating was the first thing. So that what that did was like it gave me a sense of self-control, because when we try to latch on to these different practices, right? So like, self-mutilation and those things, like I did that. Like I did that throughout my teen years and my high school years. I tried to self-mutilate to feel a sense of control, and I would just feel even more out of control. So, yes, like you get to these points where it's like, do you want to live? Do you want to be in this experience? Do you want to get through it? If so, like you got to start harnessing things one at a time for yourself. So, like I was saying, food, cutting out meat was the first thing for me. And then cutting off my hair was another one, because again, your sense of self and sense of identity, and me being a minority in my friend groups, and like that being the beauty standard, I finally had a reflection of beauty of a brown skinned woman with long, beautiful curly hair that is like, wow, that's me. So I cut off all my hair. I wanted to shave it, but my mom was like, just cut it the shortest you can go. And then if you still want to shave it, shave it. So I buzzed it. I went to the shop and I buzzed it all off and I loved it. And after that, I packed up my stuff and I moved to Oceanside, California. And I was like, okay, so I'm here. get to live with my best friend and be living by the beach. Like, I had to change my food. I had to change something about the element of my image, which is totally fine. You know, that's not a superficial thing. You know, sense of identity is part of your spiritual connectedness to yourself. It's part of your spirituality. Changing my environment. These are all self-care things. So like, I got to move by the beach and live with my best friend and just get to be a young woman, to go out dancing, turn 21, and, you know, just be with my gal, like just be with someone who I could be myself with completely 100%. And then I found school. Like, I found my path to women's studies in a women's studies class, because I always knew I wanted to work with babies. I loved working with infants, and I didn't know what kind of jobs were out there to work with babies. I was like, what kind of jobs are out there that aren't caregiving, that aren't like in a daycare or just babysitting or nannying, right? And so I learned about midwifery, and I learned about the scope of doula work and that emotional support. And it's like, yeah, like I'm gonna work through these levels of this kind of service. And so women's studies helped me to really understand like the conditions that have been placed for myself and how I've maneuvered myself. So yoga has given me the self-awareness tools to understand like those conditions and how I want to choose to be in those conditions. Yeah, those are the big ones right there. I think just making first the physical change, and then my identity, and really wanting to embrace myself and my truth, changing my environment, being around people that are a vibrational match for me, you know, people that really love me and support me. Not to say that my family didn't, but we were all so immersed in our own drama and in our own pain that we couldn't be there for each other. So, and what all those things have in common was that like those were my choices. It's like, yes, I could have let myself just spiral and like just let myself go like in many different ways, or it's like, no, I'm gonna shine. Like, I know I'm special. It's like, I know I'm special. You embrace your uniqueness, because everyone is unique. Every single person. That's what our fingerprints tell us. Every single person is unique. Not one person is the same. Every single person has something to give and to bring to this world. And that might be light, that might be dark, that might be contrast. You know, everyone has their place in this contrast world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that too, that, you know, allowing yourself to go through these evolutions and changes by making a change and allowing yourself to really experiment, because oftentimes we are confined by the boxes that we live in, and we tend to just depend, right, on like the media to tell us what's going on outside. But oftentimes the media is such a lie. Like, they're there just to make money, right? So they're not really giving us the full spectrum of truth. And so in order for you really to find your truth, you have to play. You have to allow yourself to just experiment and experience life
Yeah.
as it comes to you, because everybody's mental evolution is really different. And when I say that we're all the same, meaning that we all come from the stars, like we all created the same, right? But we have a very unique blueprint, which is what makes this world such a beautiful place to be in, because we have so much diversity. We have like multicultural elements that are important to embrace, you know, that teach us. Like I have learned so much from a lot of individuals that have come into my life, and that are you know, from different backgrounds, different colors, you know, different career paths. But it's cool because we can take those different elements and we can come together and really get different perspectives that allow us to shift, right? And to find common ground with people. It's, man, that's so important. That's so important.
We have
Uh,
to create openness within ourselves. It's like, are you even open to really hear, like not just hearing, but receiving it? Did you receive what this person is, their very true, real experience is, like where there's no denying that wherever they are, like, and whatever they're speaking to you is false, unless they're clearly lying, which again, it's out of our control. But it's like, be open to receive, because as soon as you have that openness, it comes with a filter. It comes with a filter of with your gut brain, like we have our gut, we have that sense of like intuition, and it takes practice to heighten that. And that's what it is. You're heightening your intuition. You're learning to lead with that, so that this human experience isn't just one of suffering, where you're just living and you're suffering and then you're going to die one day. It's like, no. Or being so disconnected, right? So it's not even just about the suffering. People live great lives, but on a very superficial level. And people are not resonating with it anymore. They're beginning to break out of that low frequency or vibration of living, and like, damn, like I want to travel, I want to see the world, I want to be with my family more, I want to go to school and learn about this just because I'm really interested in it, like not going to do anything except for yourself, to fill your cup. So you can find that inspiration to, like, you're going to find whatever it is you want to put out, and you're going to be able to make money that way. That's how everything is connected. Money is just a bridge. It's just a tool. Like if you know how to use it right, like money is never a problem. I'm still learning that myself, and unlearning and undoing and decolonizing and trying to shift a lot of perspectives that I've grown up with, that have been ingrained with, that were beliefs that I know that no longer resonate with me, or I'm no longer accepting. It's like, I'm not settling for that. Like, we can do anything we want here. Anything.
Yes, we can. And you know what? It is a process of unlearning, relearning, rewiring, right? And that is a choice every single day, because there's so much opportunity for us to learn. And it really is important for us to get out, to step out of that box that we live in and go see what this world has to offer. And it's amazing what you'll learn about yourself in that process. It is important. It's so important for us. And you don't have to necessarily go to traditional schooling, through traditional schooling, because a lot of I didn't go to a traditional college. I went to an art school, and that in itself was an experience. But a lot of the real world experiences that I got that taught me and that shifted me were through like shifting career paths, also moving to different places. I mean, I've moved a total of 17 times, and every move that I've made has really allowed me to expand my awareness, traveling to different countries, experiencing different cultures, the way that people live, the way that people think. I mean, we do have so much duality, and there are people in different, and even in different economic levels, right? But for me, like, money really isn't about how much money you have in the bank, or wealth. True wealth is not about how much money you have in the bank. It really is about what you do with those resources that you have, and also your mental, like your mindset, your perspectives. That is what creates true wealth. And when you're operating in that allows the experiences that will bring the resources, the tool of money, to come into our life effortlessly. But
Exactly.
it really takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes a lot of alignment.
Meditation, straight up, scientifically, meditation creates new passageways in neurological passageways in your brain. So it's like a snow globe. Like you're shaken, and then when you meditate, you're letting all of that confetti settle, so that you don't have these habitual, constant passageways to where you're so used to it and it's so automatic. you're actually giving yourself the opportunity to have different perspectives and to see things in different ways, to to resolve, to find solutions. So it's like that's what life is. We have to get around these different obstacles, and it can be as challenging as we make it. But we also have to do the work mentally to like really tap into that, because it's a practice, like you were saying. It's practice.
Absolutely. How I'm vegan, so I'm always going to encourage people to stray away from consuming animal. What is the biggest difference that you experienced when you eliminated because I mean, we will deny it all we want, but when we consume animal, we're consuming the energy that comes behind the practices that are involved with creating, those resources for food. So how did you feel? How did your body feel when you started to eliminate that?
Man, just clear. Just clear. It's like, you know what? I am just continuing to take things into my own hands. Like it's like I was very empowered. Um, it's just like I want to make these healthy changes to myself and in my life. And as I stayed on that practice and on that path, like just became clearer and clearer how I want to try to live my life and what I consume. So I've just become very aware of our quality of food and our relationship to food, understanding the energy of food. Um, yeah, like you were saying, animal meat and having enslaved animals all packed into a place to get slaughtered, like that is an energetic imprint. Everything is an energetic imprint. You can say you don't believe in energy, but yet you talk about vibes, or you can just, you read people's body language. Like body language is an energy. It's something that you feel and tune into. So it is very, very real. And you do consume that. You consume that fear, that death. It is straight up death. And, it's not that I necessarily don't believe in not eating meat. I do look at history and, it has been practiced among ancient civilizations. However, what is different about those times versus how we consume meat now? People were going out and getting their own meat. They were doing their own crops. They had their own harvests. And they knew exactly, it was their energy they were putting in, them taking care of them and raising them and giving them free range. Like they allowed them to still be animals until that's an exchange. That's an energy exchange. There's absolutely no energy exchange or awareness for the animals that people eat. People, yes, you might pray over your food. Like hopefully, at the very least, you're saying thank you to Jah or God or whoever, for blessing your body and your temple with food, to have that on your table. But just mindlessly eating meat it's like no wonder. Like you want to know why you have your hormones imbalanced, why your brain is foggy, why you don't have a lot of energy and you're always tired. It's because you're consuming so much death. There's not and if you look at the frequency of meat, because everything has a frequency, truly this is like you can measure frequency in objects. Meat has a frequency of 0. You get absolutely 0 frequency from consuming meat. Now, I know people that eat fresh game meat. Like they are going out and they are hunting, they're catching their own elk, and they are doing the actual work, the hands-on, like energy exchange, to where I am going out to you and I am appreciating the environment that you come from. Again, like we operate so superficially that we don't want to have that kind of awareness for an animal. Like we're humans, we're the at the top of the pyramid of the animal kingdom. What sets us apart from that is our sense of awareness. It's our sense of creativity. It's being able to have consciousness. So yeah, like me really cutting that out brought so much clarity and just gave me the energy that I needed to get through the pain that I was going through at the time. So it's like, again, it was a sense of self-control that I needed. And I needed to do it in a healthy way. That was my choice. I could either do this in a healthy way, or I could do this in an even more self-destructive manner and just not care about myself and care about my life. That was always option number one, to be honest. But then I don't like, again, that sense, that selfishness, like, how is this going to impact other people? What kind of imprint would that leave on other people? Like, you have to realize you bring, I don't care who you are, you bring so much light to at least one person. You touch one person a day. I'm sure every single person touches one human a day. It can be an absolute stranger, it could be your partner, it could be your child, but we are constantly trying to inspire people and put love into people. And it just, all it takes is one person for me to be like, I would never want to leave that kind of imprint on them, and to have them have to heal through that too. Like, it's just pure selfishness. And I don't want to be that kind of being. I don't want to be left remembered for that kind of energy. And again, like, I'm cutting out me to this bigger perspective. Like, and that's not something I knew in the moment, but it's something I understand now, as to, like, this is ultimately the clarity that I've gained, and how this has truly catapulted me into this space of awareness. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's an evolution, because I didn't go vegan overnight. It was a process that needed to happen in order for me to be able to tune into my body and what my body was asking me to do. And our central nervous system, like when we experience anxiety, and I'm doing a much better job. That was actually my aha moment in 2020, is just being a very aware of the words and how I was utilizing them. And even removing the word anxiety from my vocabulary, and understanding that we are just very sensitive human beings. We're spiritual beings living a human experience. Whether you believe in spirituality, like, it's not a sense of believing in it. It is what it is. Like, we don't have to believe
Yeah.
it. Like, that's what it is, right? We're spiritual beings living a human experience. And the three major industries in this world are the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry, and the insurance industries. Those three are really a conglomerate of industries that work together to keep people sick and uninformed. And when you are operating on a more conscious level, becoming more aware, you become more in tune in what's really happening in this world, and you start making changes based on the information that is coming from your source. And so your body will just ask you to naturally make these changes, and it's almost impossible for you to go back to old ways of living when you know this information. And it's true, it's facts. What you said about the industry, about the food industry, that's why it's so important to also know about cultures, like the halal way of doing things, the kosher way of doing things. I mean, these cultures, they go out and they hunt for their own gain. And so they make sure that these animals are not suffering before they die, that when they kill them, that they die instantly. Because as soon as these industries, especially in the way that these animals are governed, they're in so much pain. They probably have a lot of dis-ease. They're anxious, right? So even before they're killed and slaughtered, the energy that they are carrying already is negative. And
Mm.
so, by the time they get to the store, and then they get to our home so that we can cook it and eat it, it's already not good.
Gosh, can you imagine how old that meat is? Like, how long it took for the meat to even get to the store? How long it took for the meat in the store to get into your home? How many people passed over that meat for you to pick that meat and take it home? Like, they have to put things in it to preserve it for as long as they can to get into your home. Like, you're consuming way more than just meat.
Yes.
Consuming a lot more than just meat. You're consuming chemicals and toxins and things that are preserving it. And yes, it's like a minimal amount, but it's building up over time. Your body become susceptible to disease. Your receptors, your, whatever mutated receptors that you have, you can activate those genes
Yes.
through eating these tainted meats. And it's not just the things that we eat, it's also the things we put on our body. Women put so much toxins and chemicals on their body from the makeup that they use and the lotions that they use and all kinds of things. And it's like, what you put, your skin is your largest organ on your body, and it consumes more than what you put in your mouth. So what you put on your skin, you should be able to eat.
Yes.
Straight up. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be more complex. Like, it's as simple as that. And it's the straight truth. And if if you're like, I'm fine, like I don't feel anything, of course you don't, because you're slowly poisoning yourself. That's the slow change I was talking about. Over time, like you're 20 years old now, 30 years old now, by the time you're 60 to 70 years old, and you have to get a hip replacement, or you have cancer, or you have these things going on, that's because of the practices that you were doing over time to activate those things. We activate those things. We do that ourselves. It's no one but us. We have, our ancestors and the advocates and the protest, like all of that information, all of that work was for us to be like, okay, it's out there now. There's no doubt about it. Like all of these things are poison, like they're lying to us, they're trying to keep us sick, and they are smart about it because they let us do it to ourselves.
Absolutely.
Like there's so many ingredients that are illegal in European countries and Asian countries and Middle East countries, that they're like, we don't put that shit in our food because we know that that's not something you consume.
Absolutely.
Again, what is it about what we have, the water that we're drinking, whatever, that makes us turn a blind eye? You can have the information right in front of you, but you still not want to make those changes. Why is that? What makes you ignore that information right in front of you to be like, man, because I don't want to make the change. You're already zombed out. You optimize your water, you need to get a filter, you need to stop drinking even showering, right? So you can have a filter on your sink and filter out the chlorine and the fluoride or whatever is in there. But if you're showering and that shower doesn't have a filter, again, your skin is still absorbing that. I can get into how that calcifies our pineal gland. And again, like that's the reason why, because of your calcified pineal gland, that you are able to ignore it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you really can choose to stay there for the rest of your life, or you can choose to make changes gradually. And because the thing is that change is really hard, especially when you accept the fact that in order for things around you to change, that you have to be the one to change your perspective. But these conversations are very important because we are people that have experienced this, and we have educated ourselves. We have chosen to do the work that has allowed our bodies to heal naturally, because our bodies are living organisms that have the ability. It's literally like a well-oiled machine that does what it needs to do to self-heal when you give it what it needs and when you do the work that it takes for it to function. Because we weren't born to have disease in our body. In fact, we created it as a humanity by the choices that we were making, by the lies that we were told, by not really seeking the truth. And there's so much information out there that can be watered down and it could be not real. And this is why it's important for you to experience and to experiment so that you find what really works for you, because there's no one way to do it. I mean, all of us are so uniquely designed, and we're also in different elements. Like I myself live in nature now, but I've lived in cities where I was inundated with toxic behavior and noise and just so much distraction, and I had to really remove myself from those environments. And it is a choice for us to be able to do what we need to do for ourselves to start this self-healing process. So important. So What words of wisdom would you give to those seeking a deeper understanding of themselves?
Yeah. Trust your path. Trust it. And you might not even know what your path is, but if you don't know where to start, become aware of the things that inspire you, the things that make you want to just immerse into your creative ability and thinking. Like those are the things that are going to guide you into living in spirit, like living by your guided intuition and living by your creativity, like making choices, creative choices to get through your life. We have to just stop keeping ourselves in that mental state of suffering. And you get out of that by getting into your creative mind. We're so left-sided brained people, just always like thinking logically and needing to problem solve and needing to work. So we don't play in our right side brain as much, getting out into nature, doing whatever artistic thing that you love to do, whether that's coloring in a coloring book, painting, building things, carpentry, dealing with plants. What those things are meditative practices. Like just because you're not sitting and closing your eyes and being still, like you are so present with what you're doing because you're just allowing like your heart to speak through your creative eye and your hand and through your voice. Like these are the ways that we express and we put our truth out into the world. When we're in our creative bodies, it means we're putting out our truth. We are speaking our truth, and don't dull your voice. Like whatever it is you have to share, like don't be opinionated. Like get the training, the mentorship, the coaching, whatever it is you want to be in. Like find that community of vibrationally matched beings that are going to keep you on your path. I wish I could tell everyone what their path is, but everyone's is going to be so different. But whatever it is you did as a kid, whether that was running or playing sports, whatever it is that just took you out of your superficial mind, whatever takes you deeper is my words of wisdom.
Oh my goodness. And those are beautiful words of wisdom. Returning back to our childlike essence. It is just such a beautiful thing to operate in a space of purity. And in order for us to really be able to get back to that space, we have to really listen to our intuitive mind and to allow ourselves to operate in that higher consciousness, to surround ourselves with people that are in alignment with our truth, to choose to do a line of work that really inspires us every single day, to not just exchange our time for money because it's just what we were taught to do, to really ask ourselves, what is it that I was brought here to do? What is that unique voice that I have in order for me to make a difference in this world every day? And it doesn't have to be anything glamorous, right? It could be just going out into the community and making people feel loved, you know what I mean? Making people laugh, being a greeter at a store, whatever it is, whatever you're being called to do, it's just so important for you to listen to that.
Yeah. And also adding on to that, um, shoot, it just left me. I was just gonna say, your purpose is gonna align when you are filling your cup.
Mhm.
So just again, like the very first step it takes is to fill your cup and to make the conscious health changes within yourself. And a lot of times that is if it's a physical change, it starts with our physical body. I always am like, wherever my imbalance is, like I look at my chakras and, how I've worked through those. Without even knowing it the last few years. But a lot of times, the very first change we need to make is one of our basic needs. It's going to be the kind of food we eat, the way that we're moving our body, making sure we have food, water, shelter. Those basic things are a lot of times where we start. So fill your cup, whatever it means, what that means for you, and self-care, whatever that is, put that into practice. And your purpose is going to be found in those times where you are loving on yourself, because you are in your purest form. You are most open to receiving that information or that wisdom or just those creative ideas, if that's where your mindset is. But fill your cup, and then you'll find your purpose.
Amen. Yes, that is so real, so true. And I am just so grateful for all the wisdom and the value that you have added to these conversations, Sarrah. I am so grateful that, the stars aligned again for us to really, be able to do work together and to really be a light, to shine a light onto sometimes what we can see as dark circumstances. But I believe that through every dark circumstance, there is a bright light that can shine through and to really allow us to make the changes that we need. Yes.
That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need. Just like in those times where everything is good, like you do still have the balance. And it's okay. It's okay that things are going to rock and roll. But we haven't been just properly trained as humans to deal with those things in a creative manner, in a way that is like taking a moment to not react, but just observe and make a creative decision on how to move forward with your life. It starts with ourselves. It starts with me. It starts with you. It starts with our being.
Yes. 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 And with that, we end this segment. And I am so grateful for the person, the beautiful soul that is going to join this conversation today, tomorrow, next week, next year, 10 years from now, that you may be blessed by these conversations, that you may take away some little nuggets of wisdom that are going to allow you to be able to operate in your divine truth, that you can find, just some inspiration, some positivity, and some light here, because we are here to serve. We are here to just be a reflection of what could be for you if you are in a dark space. So I am sending you so much love and blessings today, and we will see you soon. Blessings.